Shrikant, go ahead.
Here, Babuji is saying he's hinting at the importance of joy because joy is the essence of the soul. Joy is important, and he says that the treasure is within you. The source of joy is within you, and I mean, if the process is practiced correctly, nobody can take away that from you.
Okay. Interesting that you mentioned two things. The second part will come to later on. So the joy, we need to remain joyful. Daji is given a mantra, very simple mantra, that joy attracts grace. So if at all we are going to kind of proceed and progress spiritually, the one thing that is going to help us is joy. So the more joyful we are, the more faster would be our progress. So that's the first part of it, that let your joy remain in spite of everything. See, remember, Helen, who was our medium, had a lot of health issues. She had multiple sufferings that she had to go through in her life. So she was feeling despondent at times, down at times, feeling low in energy, low in spirit. So there were many times when the hierarchy had witnessed this particular state of the medium. So they have been trying to reassure her and say that let your joy remain in spite of everything. So sometimes when we read these whispers, if we know the background context of when it was written, that also kind of helps us in trying to get us the correct meaning out of it. So this is one lesson for every human being, that in spite of all the things that we face in life, if we can remain joyful, that would be one of the best ways of putting our foot forward in terms of our spiritual journey. Okay. Then the second line, the treasure is within you and nothing and no one can take it away from you. This is basically reassuring each and every Abhyasi that the treasure that we're actually looking for is within every one of us. So, although this sentence is actually referred to the medium here, it is true for every Abhyasi that the treasure that we are actually looking for is within our own heart. And nobody can actually take this away, this treasure away from us. Now, whether we actually try to unlock this treasure within this life, whether we want to unlock this treasure in due course of time, that's up to us. But the point is, this treasure of divinity that is there within us, nobody and nothing can actually take it away from us. So, this is a very kind of big reassurance that Babuji is given through Helen to all of us. So, not to worry, but just be oriented to what you are supposed to do. That's what we are going to cover in the third and the fourth maxim today. So just remember that. Okay. So the first one is he's giving an indication what we have to do as an abhyasi. We have to be joyful in spite of all the issues that we might face in life. That's the first advice. And the second reassurance is that the treasure of what we are looking for is actually within us, and nothing or nobody can actually take it away from us. So this is the second part of the reassurance. Okay. Now, what the treasure is, how will we actually unfold the treasure? How do we experience that treasure unfolding? These are all the things that we actually are going to look at in due course of time. So let's move to the second paragraph. Anybody else wants to go through the second paragraph? Okay, Nirmala Ravi, go ahead.
What they are saying here, brother, is that unlike music, which has to be sung only in a particular key, this, whatever, the chant that this chant that they're talking about is our prayer, I think, can be sung in any key, and they don't care about the key. It can be out of tune, it can be, in any way that as long as we pray. And that brings them comfort because they know uh, that we are happy. And as long as we are happy, they have achieved the goal. So I feel that this singing that they are talking about is our love for the master, or the prayer. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong.
Okay. So that's one of the things that you're talking about, possibly about the prayer, right? Okay. Ananta?
Um, I thought it talks about human love is our comfort. And then it goes on to say, when all incarnate beings are bathed in a harmonious vibration. So actually, I was remembering the universal prayer where we say, everyone everywhere is filled with love and devotion, right?
Mhm.
That's, I guess, an attempt at having a harmonious vibration,
Mhm.
at least at that point in time. And if it is, if that state exists all the time, that's
Hmm.
probably the goal they've achieved.
Interesting. What is interesting for me is since the word vibration is there, both of you related that to prayer. And that for me is quite interesting that you are relating that to prayer. Now, looking at it, see, this is a message given by Babaji. So his interpretation or his point of view about the vibrations and the human love is our comfort, that statement in the second paragraph, that human love is our comfort, is a very big statement. So we'll come to that. I think Ajitesh, you had raised your hand, and then Dr. Pallavi.
Yeah, for the first line, I was thinking, I don't know, like, you can sing love in any key. Could it also be to the different ways with which we can attempt the journey? Like, we've been reading about different types of yoga, bhakti, jnana, karma.
Mhm.
Uh, I don't know, that thought came into my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the path, it could be any path.
Yeah.
Okay. Pallavi sister,
Yes, brother.
you had raised your
Brother,
hand.
brother, what I have understood is like Babuji is saying, you can sing love in any key. Means to remain joyful, how we can remain joyful is like when we love everything around us, then
Hmm.
only we remain joyful. Whatever it is given to us, we are happy, we are joyful, and we are loving that. So you can sing love in any key. Any key means any note of that music of love. We are playing the
Hmm.
music of love
Hmm.
just because we are being joyful of having everything, anything around us. The
Hmm.
next line, this chant never ceases to delight us. And this
Hmm.
chant of love, uh, this never disappoints us. Is it this chant of love always keeps us happy and joyful.
Hmm.
Human love is our comfort. Human love is our comfort is like everyone needs love.
Hmm.
Bringing you all of that state makes us happy.
Hmm.
So when love is within,
Hmm.
that automatically it keeps us happy.
Hmm.
When all incarnate beings are bathed in that harmony's vibration, we all have achieved our goal. It means through love only, or by the means of it is love and love only, we can
Hmm.
achieve our goal. And
Hmm.
when all incarnate beings are bathed in that harmonious vibration. So
Hmm.
for me, that vibration is love only, the vibration of love. We
Okay.
all achieved our goal.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, brother, for
So
giving.
essentially, the second paragraph is talking about the aspect of love. Oh, if you actually look at many of the spiritual seekers, people who have achieved high levels of achievement in spirituality, most of them talk about love or prem. Eventually, what they will realize is that the world is love through and through. God is love through and through. And everything that we see around is nothing but different forms and aspects of the one universal love that is there at the base. Now, when we start connecting to the base, this love acquires that aspect of divinity. Now, what is the divine love? There is human love and there is a divine love. Love is there at all levels. But what happens to love is that as we go higher and higher towards divinity, it starts becoming more and more subtle and sublime. Now, not only it becomes more subtle and sublime, it becomes a great nourishing force which enhances life. Looked at it from this particular aspect, Babuji is saying that when this particular love is sung in any key, it doesn't matter which key you are singing about, because more normally when somebody starts singing, there is always a key associated with it. There cannot be any singing without a key. So there is a bass key, and then over that we actually build up other keys that we make utilization of during the course of the singing. So what he is now saying is that when you can sing love in any key, which is associated with that background aspect of divinity, it actually delights the hierarchy. It delights the hierarchy in such a way that he is now making the second important sentence that human love is our comfort. See, for all the liberated beings who are there in the state of thumb, they can only work through a human medium. And we don't recognize the human life love as so unique in terms of our ability to be able to relate to that level of the latent motion of the center. So we have this unique ability to exist at this level in this world and also to exist at that level in the latent motion. Now, what is the difference between our existence at one point, first point, to the latent motion is the kindness, the refinement of the love. So human love is our comfort because the liberated beings do not have a body and the mind to work with. So it is through the human beings that they have to actually work. So whenever they are able to get a medium through which they can actually work, that love that they establish with the human being is something that is going to bring a lot of comfort to them because that will be an enabler of their work. Otherwise, they will find it hard to work. They always require a medium. Now, the question that we have to ask ourselves is how many of us are actually ready to be the medium for the hierarchy to bring about the changes that they are actually looking for in the world? This is something that we have to actually ponder over both as an Abhyasi and as a possible preceptor in due course of time. Are we happy to do that, to be a medium for the master, for the hierarchy to work through us? Now, if in order that we have to become a medium, we have to learn to let go of the things that we hold dear to ourselves, which is our own creation. So, bringing you all to that state makes us happy. Now, which state is he talking about? To that state of love where all these liberated beings are established in. So, that is the kind of the divine, sublime, life nourishing love that is there at the latent motion. Now, what is the job of all these liberated peoples when all incarnate beings, that is, all the people who are born here, are bathed in that harmonious vibration, which is there more closer to the center? We have achieved our goal. That's what the hierarchy of masters, all the liberated souls, are all working towards to get all the human beings back to that original state in which they were born first time around. This is what all the masters, all the spiritual teachers of the past, all the liberated souls from the past are all working towards one end only to actually take back all the incarnate beings. Incarnate beings here means all the people who have actually been born here on earth, to take them back to the original state. Okay, that is what they are actually trying to do. Anything else you want to add, Anant?
I just remembered there was in Dilse, there was a question, right? By someone. I think it was about the difference between realized souls, master, preceptor, something like that. I can't remember the exact question. But I remember master responding very concisely. He just said the different degrees of love.
No, somebody has asked the question between the center and the divine essence, the spiritual essence, the master's essence. So the difference between the two. So as you rightly pointed out, he just said it's difference in the degree of love. So which is what I was actually talking about. Compared to the first point, what is the difference between the first point versus the latent motion or the center. It is nothing but the degree of love.
Yeah.
Like we look at everything as a degree in the subtlety of the consciousness. When the consciousness become more subtle, what you experience is different degrees of love.
Yeah.
And different degrees of love is associated with different degrees of happiness. Upanishads correlate the degree of love with the degree of happiness. So they all actually go together. On one perspective, we talk about different degrees of subtlety of consciousness as we evolve. That's one perspective. In parallel, we talk about different degrees of love. That's the second perspective. The third perspective is that we talk about different degrees of happiness as we journey towards the center. That's the third perspective. And there is the fourth perspective is in terms of different degrees of relative reality that we are actually passing towards in our journey towards the absolute reality. So there are four perspectives that we have to keep in mind. They are all related to one another. Subtlety of consciousness, degree of love, degree of happiness, and the fourth one in terms of what's the fourth one I said?
Reality, brother.
Yeah,
Going
relative
towards the
reality.
absolute reality. So this is something you remember. It comes in the flow. Even sometimes we don't know where it is coming from. It just comes in the flow, and then suddenly we also forget. Okay. Anyway, four things they actually are running parallel with one another. When we say that somebody is actually progressing towards the absolute reality and they're crossing through finer states of reality, they're also actually becoming established in the state of happiness, higher levels of happiness, finer degrees of love, and more subtler levels of consciousness. That is what it means. Okay, so keep these four different perspectives. All these four run in parallel with one another. We can add other perspective for these four, but keep this broad four perspective. Okay, because many people talk about happiness as the goal of life. There are many people who talk about reality as the goal of life, which is what we are going to talk about today. Many people talk about the consciousness as the goal of life, and people also talk about other aspects, love as the goal of life. All of these things are different perspective of one and the same thing, although it is experienced at the mind and the heart as different things, but they're all relating to one and the same thing. Murthy, go ahead.
Namaste, brother. Fundamentally, what I have seen or experienced is like we are all having this four major forces inside us: Mata, Pita, Guru, and Daivam. Now, the degree of levels of love, what the brother was earlier mentioning, is very much evident in us when we experience it at various uh, circumstances. Like if we proceed from the middle, let's say we look at our family, Mata Pita, the degree of love for the father and the degree of love for the mother, slightly it varies, but we are going in that direction. So, and if you're going abstract, more innate, then we are going in the other direction, which is Guru and Daivam, ultimate center, whatever you. So, whichever is experiential, which we partake during our meditation or living in the outside world, that is our own experience. And as you rightly said, how you experience, how you shape yourself depends on the basic ingredient, which is love. Now, as we proceed further towards the center, it transforms into surrender, then devotion, humility, and then nothingness. That is where we are heading. But the harmonious vibration, the fundamental frequency is love.
Okay, thank you, brother. We'll go to the next part. Somebody wants to go to the third paragraph, share their thoughts. Vidya sister.
Thank you, brother. Good evening. We too have our dreams, which are not utopian. We are working. Sorry. We are working towards that sublime realization. It is not for tomorrow, but time doesn't matter. This kind of love cannot be measured. It must be lived. It's a divine gift.
Harini, please mute yourself. Go ahead, sister.
About last paragraph, I was really somehow I felt that even masters or hierarchy also have a goal, brother. Yeah, I always thought only we have goals.
Okay. So that was a bit of a surprise for you. Any other point?
Uh, what I thought is like master is talking about all of us reaching that goal. That all incarnate beings means we have to reach that part of the goal where say means the ultimate goal where we have to realization or so then only then they will be happy of that part. I somehow felt like it is difficult for all of us to reach that harmonious vibration unless we are there is pralaya or
Okay. Anybody else wants to add something?
Brother, I want to add something. Srinivas.
Yeah, go ahead.
See, here Babuji is telling that the souls which have already reached the brighter world or something, they also have a dream. What is that dream? Which are not utopian means it's an idealistic society where every human being helps other and they live happily something. So they are working towards that. Towards achieving that, and definitely it's not going to happen in a day or two, and it takes a lot of time. Now time is not the constraint, let it take whatever time it takes, and the love you get, you cannot quantify that love, and you have to live and experience that kind of a love, which is like a divine gift to all the incarnate beings. This is what I understood that.
Okay, pa. Thank you. Anybody else wants to? Last person, shed any thoughts? Okay, we'll proceed with the third paragraph. So you people might be surprised to hear this, that we too have dreams. So when Babaji is talking about we too have dreams, he is talking about all the people, all the liberated souls in the state of the thumb, in the latent motion, are different levels of uh, swimming in the infinite ocean. And he says that it's not utopian, it's not like imaginary. It's a kind of, as far as they are concerned, they are looking at it as a realistic goal. And we are all working towards that sublime realization. So, realization of the dreams that they have, which they feel is not imaginary, it is something achievable. This is what he's talking about. See, from looked at from the realm of the liberated souls, there is no time as such. So that's why he's saying that it's not for tomorrow, and time doesn't matter because they are all established in the zone of timelessness. So for them, time is immaterial. Although time is of some essence for us here, for them, time is immaterial. So they are all working tirelessly towards that state where most of the incarnate beings can be brought to that level of realization. And this kind of love cannot be measured. No, the love that he's talking about is of the liberated souls towards the incarnate beings. That is the love that he's talking about. Now, you might wonder, why should the incarnate beings be loved so much by the liberated souls? Now, in a way, we as incarnate beings give a purpose for the liberated souls to work with. You might actually find that a bit surprising, but that's how it is. The liberated souls, their only job till the time of Mahapralaya is to work to bring the incarnate beings to higher and higher levels of spirituality. That is what they are all working towards. You remember once we told that if you actually start working here as preceptors, it's quite likely that you will also work in higher realms as the spiritual guides. The job is the same, whether you want to call it as preceptor here in this realm and you want to call it as spiritual guide in the other realm. essentially the job profile is still the same, although you might actually call it in different name. So this kind of love cannot be measured. What kind of love is it? This is the love of the liberated souls towards the incarnate beings, because it's the incarnate beings that actually give a purpose for their dreams to work towards. And that's a very, very important point to consideration. And Babaji says this kind of a love should be lived. Now, the love can actually be experienced both by the giver of love and the receiver of love. And both actually live the love. So, the incarnate beings who are actually getting the benefit of the love, they receive this love and they experience this sublime love. The liberated souls who are the givers of love, they experience the same love in a different perspective. But he says it is not to be thought of or it is not to be imagined. It is something that it must be lived because it's a divine gift. And this entire message that he is talking about is essentially about love. That's why in the second paragraph itself, after reassuring us that the treasure is within us, now what is this treasure now? If you correlate with, after having read the second and the third paragraph, the treasure that he is talking about is the divine love that we all carry within us. And what all that happens as we progress in our journey is that we learn to tap into this divine treasure more and more.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to the next part of the presentation today. Maxim 3. Fix your goal, which should be complete oneness with God. Rest not till the ideal is achieved. Vivekananda also said similar thing. Does anyone remember what Vivekananda said?
Arise, awake, not till the goal is reached.
Right. So very similar. Does it not sound very similar? So rest not till the ideal is achieved. So anyway, what's the importance? So when we talk about the maxims, this third maxim is the crux of the entire 10 maxims. Because here we are actually identifying a particular goal towards which we want to kind of divert all our energies towards. So at the onset, Babaji says, one must fix the goal at the very outset, and that should be complete oneness with God. Now, somebody wants to read the slide, and then we can have some discussion about it. Anyone wants to go ahead? Srikant? Srikant, go ahead.
Maxim 3, fixing the goal. One must fix the goal or at the very
Outset.
Why
at
are
the
you
very
struggling so
outset,
much?
complete oneness with God. Without a fixed destination, the thought and will cannot pave the way upward. Those who fail to let the final state as their aim often stop at intermediate stages, mistaking them for reality. Just sit in, just as in worldly life, success demands that the object remains in view at all times. Without clarity of goal, spiritual progress remains uncertain and incomplete.
Okay. Thank you, Pa. One or two can actually share their thoughts about this. Prachi?
Namaste, brother.
A bit louder.
Namaste, brother. I'm audible? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this magazine talks about the importance of having a clear goal, like which gives us some direction and takes us towards the purpose. Like it fixes a purpose for us and then steer us towards like keeps us motivating to move towards that goal by giving certain direction. And yeah, that is the idea of this maxim.
Okay. Ashwini?
Yeah, brother. So the goal should always be kept high, and that should be the complete oneness with God. Because on the way, like what we saw was like, during the PowerPoint, some people may stop or SDK points. So some people will get stuck in those points and they'll think that, that is the reality. Satchitanand, those are the stages where they feel that, that is the final stage and they get stuck. So that's why it is always like, we should have that thought power. We should fix it high so that we are taken there. Just as in worldly life, success demands the dispel of objects in view at all. Yeah. So what happens is with with the repetition of those thoughts, we are giving more power to those thoughts, saying that I have to become one with the center, one with the master. So what happens is it creates a way, and then it creates a road or way, and then it becomes very easy. Without clarity of goal, spiritual progress remains uncertain and incomplete. Yeah. So without the goal, like, even when we in the material world, when we do not have a goal, we'll just go here and there without achieving anything, or any work we do will be half done. We can't say we have done it. So similar way, we should always have a goal in mind towards which all our efforts, thoughts, energy, everything will flow and we'll be able to achieve it.
Okay. One question here. Babaji writes here, the third one, those who fail to set the final state as their aim often stop at intermediate stages, mistaking them for reality. What are all the stages that people actually end up stopping at? And what are all the reasons why people end up stopping in their journey? Anybody can answer.
If they feel peace of mind, they'll just relax.
Okay, so somebody might just relax. Anything else?
Sometimes people are charmed by certain peace or
Okay, so they're
certain.
charmed by the conditions.
Yeah.
Anything else?
No, brother, I didn't receive any.
Anything else? Charmed by the conditions.
Like some
If they face many
people.
struggles, they may stop at
People
they
may
may
stop
stop in
because of
between.
troubles. Anything else?
Also, the other way around is also true. I have seen a practical case where the person started progressing materially, promotions, good family life, and he dropped sadhana.
Correct. When they get a lot of good things also done in life, they stop. Anything else?
Lack of Sat, Satya or Satpad and SDK. So those are the
Right.
points where
Anything else? Correct. Anything else?
If they don't know what the goal is.
It can also be due to any kind of siddhis that you.
Siddhis, correct. Anything else?
Satchitananda, the
State
thing
of
that
She's already
liberation.
said. Sachidanand.
State
She
of
said that.
liberation.
Anything else?
If someone
State
goes
of
through
liberation.
bhogas, he thinks that
One by
he or
one,
she
one by
thinks.
one. One by one,
Sorry.
please. So please
Shall
raise
I
your hand,
speak?
I'll ask. So Kishore,
Yeah, so when they start to feel their expansion like point 10 Prabhu, so that time also they can, feel power and they can get distracted.
okay? So power can actually make them stop. Anything else? Anything else?
Bhakti.
Go ahead, Ananta.
Okay, I thought it could be the guru they are
I think
following.
people sorry, could people mute yourself? There's a lot of background noise. Once we ask you to speak, you can speak. Unmute yourself and speak. Go ahead.
I was thinking it may be the guru they are taking as a guide. So they may not go past that wherever that that guru is.
Correct. That's also another limitation. Good. Anything else? Manikandan?
So at the point STK, they feel that they have become the guru, so
Good.
they start.
Good. You remember quite a few points. Very good. Anything else? There's still more points. So I'm happy that so many points are coming through.
Ego, brother.
State of
Ego will
liberation.
take over.
State of liberation,
Ego.
they may stop. Anything else?
Their ego.
No, ego is not something. Ego is a very broad thing. We are talking about different states. I'm still
Brother,
looking for
shall I
three or
say?
four. I'm still looking
Shall
for
I?
three or four.
Shall I say?
Yeah, go ahead.
If someone goes through bhogas, then he or she thinks that it's a difficult path and they divert themselves.
No, they get exposed to more difficulties, then they might stop. Anything else? Haruna,
They think that is the final goal.
what is it? That's what we are talking about. What is it?
uh, Realization.
Realization as the final goal. Okay, Sandhya?
Yeah, brother. I remember like bhakti. Sometimes we feel too much devoted bhakti. We
Right.
want to be in this
Good.
stage. We
Good.
don't want to
So they want to be in the state of bhakti only. They don't want to kind of go
bhakti
towards
only.
the highest. So that's
Higher
another
stage.
block. Good. Anything else? Pramod?
Brother, in any of those 23 circles, people
Mhm.
can get stuck in any of those circles.
No, why do they get stuck? That's what we are talking about. People can get stuck in anything. That's okay. That's a general statement. Why
Right.
do they get stuck? That is what we are talking about. They get stuck because they consider the interim stages as the goals. And what are all the reasons why they actually get stuck? That's what we are talking about. Okay. Anybody else wants to go? Piyush? Piyush Sharma?
Uh, there's something I read. Babuji had mentioned somewhere that one obstacle that happens when someone reaches very high, they start thinking of some other, idealistic things like working for the society, building hospitals and all, and they move from this path thinking that this is the service.
Correct. So they get distracted by societal related goals. So they kind of let
Yeah.
go of the spiritual goals.
Yep.
Good. Shruti?
Brother, when they develop siddhis, they get lost.
I think Siddhis was
They
already
lose.
mentioned. Good.
Okay.
Kishore?
Yeah. So when we reach to the 12th point, like just before the 13, so as you have said earlier, the soul can escape. Here though
Okay.
master has to work more.
So Brahmagati, they are near the Brahmarandra. So then they are not going to reach the final goal. Okay. Anything else, Srinivas?
In case if they find detachment from the worldly life,
Mhm.
out of fear, they may stop because they have not fixed their goal to merge in the absolute. Probably out of fear also they may stop.
Okay. Fine. That's possible. Correct. So the other possibilities are when people actually enter into the state of Avaduta Gati, they will not go forward. And it's a very common thing that people enter into the state of Avaduta Gati. When people actually get enamored by magic, which is happening at the fourth point, apart from siddhis, which can occur at other points also, the fourth point is of one of magic. When people get enamored by magic and they actually get stuck there. Now, people can get enamored by power at the seventh point, they get stuck there. People can get enamored by the peace at the second point and they get stuck there. People get enamored by the third point, love, and they get stuck there. People take Atman as the goal. People can take Brahman as the goal, both of which we have read in the Heartfulness Way as not the final goals. People can take realization as the goal, and then they might not necessarily go through the central region towards the center. So until unless we actually keep a goal which is of highest, Vivekananda says, The goal should be such that it should be worth struggling for many lives for it. Now, this was during the times of Vivekananda. But then obviously, this system has come after that. And Vivekananda also has been a very big contributor to our system. In fact, he goes on to say that whoever might be the president of this mission, it will be I only who will be working through them. This is the extent to which Vivekananda is actually involved in our system. So, if you look at that particular things, so universal consciousness, cosmic consciousness, Mahat, realization, Avadhuta Gati, Siddhis, magic, and apart from many other things that you have already spoken about. All these things people have taken in the past as their goals, and they have all stopped, which is one of the reasons why it had to come from Lalaji and Babuji that there is something called a central region, and you can actually traverse through the central region even while you are actually alive here on earth. This is the first time this has been made possible for mankind. So you can just see how short of the mark many of our ancestors were, although we all speak very highly of them. That's why Daji writes in Heartfulness Way that among their times they were giants, spiritual giants. But if you look at it from later perspective, they might actually not appear as giants, but that does not decrease their importance. So at different ages, different people come about and take us to the highest level, which are way beyond the previous generation could actually think about or reach. That's exactly what has happened to spiritual journey as well. So here Babuji says, keep your goal as complete oneness with God. Fix your goal. That's the first thing to do. In fact, in English, we say that the moment you fix your goal, half of the journey is done. This is what we say in English. So what happens when you fix the goal? The thought and the will now finds a way to take you upwards. You are giving a direction to the thought and the will to take you upwards. And if we fix a goal at a lower stage, then we will not be able to reach the highest possibility because we have actually fixed a lower stage as our goal. So fixing the goal is of primary importance. Not only we need to fix the goal, Babuji says that whatever activity we do in life, we need to have that goal in front of us. It's not like we think of the goal now and then for the next 1 year we forget about the goal. That is not going to help. Our mind should be focused on the goal all the time, irrespective of what activity you are doing in this life here. Now, that is when the constant remembrance actually comes in. The constant remembrance actually it starts taking you towards the goal, irrespective of what you are doing at the level of the body and the mind. Now, if you do not have clarity, the spiritual progress remains uncertain and incomplete. Now, this is a bit of a dilemma. This particular sentence is a bit of a dilemma because at the start of our journey, nobody can have a clarity about the goal, right? If somebody were to ask you, you're starting to climb the Mount Everest. If somebody were to ask you, what is the tip of the Mount Everest look like? Can anyone say that? Nobody can say that. But the thing is, as we go higher and higher, the more nearer towards the goal we go, the more clarity we start getting towards the goal. So this is a, what you say, an evolving thing. We start with a goal. We might not necessarily have any clarity about that goal. But the moment we have, then how do we actually kind of overcome this dilemma? That is where the spiritual books written by the master actually comes in handy. It helps us to get a glimpse of the goal, at least in our imagination. In our imagination, we will be able to get a glimpse of the goal, a feel for the goal. We might not have clarity about the goal, but at least we'll have some idea the goal is something like this. For example, even for a person who is starting at point one, meditation today, say that the goal is nothingness or zero, whatever that means to them, they'll have some idea about it. Whether that idea remains as they progress towards the zero or nothingness or changes, obviously we all know that it changes. But we will have some idea based on whatever our spiritual masters have actually written based on their own experience about the goal. That is where reading the book also actually helps us in progressing towards the goal because it will help us form some kind of an idea about the goal. It might not be accurate, It might not be very clear, but still it gives some kind of an idea about the goal. Okay, Ananta, go ahead.
It's okay to ask questions now. Yeah, about the goal.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. See, we say our system is a modified version of Raja Yoga.
Yeah.
So in Raja Yoga, is there a difference in terms of goal in both?
See, Raja Yoga talks about, when you talk about liberation, all the four paths actually lead you to liberation. But each of these paths end at different levels. The only Raja Yoga, it actually takes you towards the goal. Now, Raja Yoga also talked about the highest possibility for human mankind. In fact, if you read the 1944 Whispers, the first Raja Yogi, the one who actually found out about Raja Yoga, comes and gives a dictation to Babuji. And obviously, that person was already swimming in the infinite ocean. And then he actually comes and gives a dictation to Babuji how he actually found this path of Raja Yoga. Obviously, they had an idea that with the help of Raja Yoga, they can actually go to the highest. But the thing is, they had this idea in the highest, but they did not have the ability to work out of reaching the highest while being alive in the human body. That's the difference.
Okay.
The Raja Yogi at those times could actually have a concept of the highest, but they could actually achieve that after they had shed the body. But the innovation of Lalaji and Babuji is that you can actually reach that goal not only in this life, but part of this life also while being alive in this life. That is the biggest innovation that we actually see in our system of Raja Yoga. That's why it is called as, one of the reasons why it is called as a modified system of Raja Yoga. Okay.
Thank you, brother.
So let's go to the next slide now. So somebody want to volunteer to read?
Can I read?
Yeah, Sandhya, please go ahead, sister.
Maxim 3, the human form as a boat. The human form is like a boat, and life is the ocean of spirituality. The boat cannot reach its destination unless the helm is rightly applied. In spiritual life, the helm is determination, the will that steers straight ahead. Though countless wills and obstacles arise, strong will and confidence overcome them. Determination alone helps us proceed unfalteringly towards the
Goal.
I think it's covered towards the goal.
Correct. So I can take one person sharing any thought about this slide. Anyone can share any thought about this slide.
Yeah, so here Bauji compares, as he says, like it is like a boat, and we cannot reach the destination until the helm is rightly applied. And he explains what this helm is. This is determination, which is helpful to overcome all the difficulties which we face through our path and march towards the ultimate or the goal. I also remember here, you know, like as you said, like unfailing will. If we have the determination, then that helps a lot. And the surest poison to the progress is the doubt. Somewhere I read, like if someone has doubt, it is a failure, sure short failure kind of thing, which it will produce.
Okay, good. Thank you. So it's common in spiritual literature to give examples, to give anecdotes. So Babaji is now trying to give an example that you consider the human form as a boat and the life itself as an ocean of spirituality. So obviously, if we are a boat, then we are actually sailing through the ocean of spirituality. However, if we have to sail through the ocean of spirituality as a boat, we need a helm which is rightly applied towards the destination, in the direction of the destination. And that helm is our determination. That is what he's saying. Now, when we have determination, the will then steers us straight ahead. If we do not have determination, there is no force in the will. It becomes very weak. When we are determined to do anything, when we are determined to do a particular thing, any obstacle that comes in the way, we are able to overcome it with lot of tenacity, patience, strategies, various other methods that we have at our disposal. So all the kinds of difficulties that we face in our path towards the goal can be overcome just by one thing, which is the determination. It is the determination that alone helps us proceed unfalteringly towards the goal. Unfaltering means that you are not going to falter. You are not going to kind of stop the journey in between. You will face a lot of difficulties, but at the same time, you will actually want to proceed ahead as towards the goal because you have that strong determination which is working as a helm. The importance of the helm is that it will take you straight towards the goal, and that's the importance of it. It will also help you to overcome the obstacles that we face on our path. Okay, so this is a very common way of explaining things in spiritual literature where we actually give an example. And this, what is the helm, is one question that you will probably get in your exams. What does the go third maxim talk about? That's also another question that you will get in the exams. So just keep kind of focused on some of these points where Babuji talks about. It's not a very big maxim. It's only 3 pages, but it contains lot of information that actually, if properly understood and grasped and applied, can actually take our journey towards the goal much faster. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Now again, anybody wants to go through the slide? Prachi?
Yeah. So the ideal of the absolute, since our eye is fixed on spirituality, we must choose the highest ideal. The true goal is none other than the infinite absolute. To reach this supreme state is the primary duty of man. Divine help comes when the Supreme sees the devotee's earnestness. Sincere efforts create a reaction in the infinite, reducing the distance between devotee and Lord.
Good. Anybody wants to share any thought on this? Apurva?
In spirituality, so the highest goal has to be beyond the bliss. So we should not get stuck with the reality. Then we have to go beyond, then the bliss, and beyond that we reach the ultimate, the absolute. So that has to be our view. Yeah, that's what I got.
Okay. Thank you, sister. Vishweshwara?
Yeah. The thing which is important is to have that ultimate goal, that is the infinite absolute, and to have that sincerity and determination. And when these two things are there, there is always a divine help for us to carry us through the journey to final ultimate goal. This is what it is.
Okay. So we'll take other people in the other slides. So we'll need to proceed further. So what primary thing is, in the first slide, whatever he repeated, he is now actually repeating himself here in a slightly different way. That we have to fix our eyes on the highest ideal, which is the infinite absolute. And he says that this is the primary duty of every man. When he says man, he is talking about every human being. Here, man does not deal out to any gender. He's talking about every human being born. They should keep this ideal as the highest, the infinite absolute as the ideal, and that is what they should strive to achieve in this life. The second part is actually reassuring. Is it a one-way journey that the divine is somewhere else at some corner and we are all striving to go towards that? No. And that's the beauty of this. See, the divine is something which is going to respond to our earnestness. When the Supreme sees the devotee's earnestness, it also starts making effort to come into our direction. So that's why Master says if we take one step, the divine will actually come two steps towards us. But we should be having that eagerness, earnestness to actually reach the divine. When we have sincerity in our heart, when we put the effort in our journey towards the infinite, we evoke a reaction in the infinite. Please remember this. It is not like the infinite is somewhere and we are here and we both are unrelated and we should go towards the infinity. Nothing of that kind. We are both closely related to one another in such a way that there is a bond that is already there within us. All that we are now doing is actually tap into this bond. How are we going to tap into this bond? We actually utilize the same energy that God has given. The primary stir, that energy that is coming down from the primary stir, is actually getting wasted when it goes out and downwards from our system. What we do in meditation, we actually start turning that energy back towards the divine. When we turn that energy back towards the divine, the energy that is given by the divine, by the primary stir, we utilize the same energy in our journey back towards the goal, which is the center. So this is very, very important that the journey is not one-sided. It is a two-sided journey. It's a dual-sided journey in the sense that we actually put in our effort with right earnestness and sincerity. And when the Supreme or the Infinite sees our earnestness and sincerity, it also starts moving towards us. So in the next slide, we'll actually see what exactly happens when the Infinite also starts moving towards us. Okay. Anybody wants to read this slide?
No.
Soumya?
Yes, sir. Maxim 3, nearness and merging. As devotion deepens, the sense of remoteness fades away. Nearness increases until the feeling of aloofness disappears completely. The state becomes one with the latent motion of creation itself. This merging is permanent and lasting, bringing us into the real life of the infinite ocean. Living in this state means being influenced directly by the reality.
We now swim in.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So anybody wants to share any thought on this? He's talking about as we progress, as we practice, what is supposed to happen. The first three lines he's talking about what is supposed to happen as we practice. Any thoughts, Madhuri?
Yeah, actually, that is the takeaway point for me from those 3 days, 10 maxims. Like, we should come out of this idea of separation and we should align ourselves, try to align ourselves with that center. Means always in that devotion or in a centered state. As the devotion deepens, this remoteness, the distance, separation also fades away and the aloofness disappears and we reach that motionless state, forceless force or latent motion of creation, that state, and that is the merging and it is permanent and lasting, bringing us to the real life of infinite ocean. That's what I.
Good, sister. You covered quite a few points. Anybody else wants to add anything else to what sister said? Nimi?
I think he's talking about the process of coming closer to the divine, which is like salukyata, samipyata, sarupyata, and sayujyata.
Correct.
And so these points are actually talking about how we first recognize that there is the divine presence, and then how we get closer to it, and then how we take on the identity of the divine, and finally we merge with it.
Good. See, interestingly, within 2 sentences, he completes the journey. He says, as devotion deepens, and one of the ways of we deepening the devotion is through prayer. So, as the devotion deepens, what happens? The kind of remoteness that we feel from the divinity versus us, that sense of remoteness fades away. Now, when the sense of remoteness fades away, we start feeling that we are now becoming more and more nearer to the divine. And when we feel that nearness to the divine, we feel that the feeling of aloneness also disappears. Trying to look at it slightly differently. You remember we had spoken about different states that we can exist in. The godly state or the center state is the state beyond existence, non-existence. That is the state of the center. Now, the state of the Atma, the true self, is the state of existence. That is our identity. Then you have the state of awareness. Then you have the state of attention. Now, we had spoken once in the past that we start with attention during the meditation, and then we gradually establish ourselves in the state of awareness during the course of the meditation. Now, as we progress in meditation, over a period of time, we gradually start establishing in the state of awareness, even outside the meditation also. This establishment of us in the state of awareness outside the meditation is called as the meditative state. That is what you call as the meditative state. In other words, we are established in the state of awareness even outside the meditation. We might not be meditating, but we are always permanently established in the state of awareness. As that becomes more subtle, we go back towards the state of existence, which is our true identity or the sarupyata or the true self. From there, we only have one other step to go, which is to reach the state beyond existence and non-existence. So if you look at it from this perspective, there are only three steps to climb. Starting from the state of attention, we move to the state of awareness. From the state of awareness, we move to the state of existence. From the state of existence, we move to a state beyond existence and non-existence. See how easy the system is. That's why this is also one of the reasons why Sahaj Marg is very, very quick in achieving the results that we are looking for. We don't go down too much to actually work on various other things. We don't try to concentrate. We don't try to do many of those things that many of the other systems actually talk about. We just come straight to the crux of the matter. The crux of the matter is that every day we use attention. Now, why not use attention itself? When the attention is directed outwards, it binds us. When the attention is directed inwards, it liberates us. That's all it is. So, Sahajmarg system, heartfulness meditation, comes straight to the crux of the matter, which is start working with attention. Because that is what we are actually using day in and day out, all the time. Catch hold of the attention, and with the process of meditation, gradually make the attention subtle to become awareness. So through meditation, we move from the state of attention to gradually to the state of awareness. That's what happens through meditation. Now, why do we practice every day? Why do we actually do the process of meditation every day? To practice this method of conversion of attention to awareness. That's what we are doing every day. When we convert the attention to awareness by the practice of meditation regularly, what we tend to see is that even outside the practice of meditation, we tend to be stabilized in the state of awareness by and by. In other words, as time passes, as we become more adept at meditation, we start becoming more and more able to stabilize at the level of awareness. Once we stabilize at the level of awareness, then what happens? Gradually, we move further towards the state of existence. Now, if somebody were to ask you, what is this journey? This entire journey is nothing but between the state of attention to the state of existence. That is the journey. So, the first point is the state of attention, and the state of existence is the state where you are your true identity. So, you can say that this is all the journeys. Spirituality is nothing but moving from the state of attention to the state of existence. That is spirituality. Now, then what happens after we have established in the state of existence? There's only one small step, and that is the journey in the central region. This entire journey in the central region is moving from the state of existence to a state beyond existence, non-existence. That is the journey in the central region. That's it. See how easy it is. And we don't go down to all other things. We don't worry about concentration. We don't worry about identification. We don't worry about attachment. We don't worry about likes and dislikes. We don't worry about samskaras. Nothing of that kind. All that we need to do is turn the attention inwards and fix it and make it go in the direction of the goal that we have fixed. And what is the goal? The goal is that state which is beyond existence, non-existence. That is the absolute center. That is all. You are just redirecting the attentional energy back towards the center. And all these three things are interfaces, where you move from attention to awareness to existence and to a state beyond existence, non-existence. It is so easy. So that is what he's talking about. If we are able to do that, where will we end up in the end? We end up in the latent motion that was there just before the start of the creation. Now we read in one of the maxims that once we reach that state, it is permanent and lasting. There is no fall from the state of latent motion. If somebody were to ask you, where is the state from which you cannot fall? Once you get established in the state of latent motion, in the realm of the latent motion, there is no question of any fall. As and when you establish yourself in the state of latent motion or the realm of the latent motion, you start absorbing the essence of reality while you swim in the latent motion. Then, after you have sufficiently absorbed the essence of reality, you start the real life of the infinite ocean. This is what happens after we have entered into the latent motion. Now, since we are entering there, even while we are actually living here within a human body, what happens is we start being directly influenced by the reality we are now swimming in. So even while living here, we are in tune with the reality, and so our life will be led by this aspect of reality that we are actually tagged to inside. Although on the outside we must still appear to be the same person, the same body, same mind. However, inside we have now tagged to the reality and we have absorbed the real essence from the reality, and we are still continuing to swim in the latent motion. We start leading a real life here while we exist on this earth. Now that's the beauty of Sahaj Marga. No other system can actually manage to make this possible in one part of the life. Okay. So the first two lines he talks about what exactly happens with our practice. The remoteness goes, the aloofness goes, and there is a nearness that is established. Then at one point of time, we go beyond the realm of the Kshobh and enter into the latent motion. Once we are there in the latent motion, that is the infinite motion, and our journey there is permanent and lasting. We cannot fall. Even though we might have a body and the mind, and we may still continue to live here on this realm, which is also the region of the Maya. But still, we will not be able to have any fall from that particular state. And then we gradually start having a real life. Okay? So just remember, I had spoken to you about one aspect of this, the 12 realms in which we exist. I'm not sure how many people can remember that. I'll just repeat it for the sake of your understanding. The highest realm, the first one, is a state beyond existence, non-existence, and that is the center. Then the second one is state of existence, and that's the realm of our true identity. Then the third stage is when we exist in the state of awareness. The fourth state is when we actually exist in the state of attention. The fifth state is when we exist in the state of concentration. Sixth state is when we exist in the state of identification. Seventh state is when we exist in the state of attachment. Eighth level is when we exist in the state of strong likes and dislikes. Ninth state is when we exist in the state of samskara formation. 10th state is when we exist in the state of stress. 11th state is when we exist in the state of reversible mental illness. 12th state is when we exist in the state of irreversible mental illness. Every human being will exist along this spectrum only at any point of time in their life. They cannot exist outside this spectrum. I've given you the spectrum. These are the 12 spectrums in which every human being will exist at any point of time in their life. Okay. Anyway, we'll move to the next slide now.
Brother, can you repeat, brother? We have to write it down.
I'll put the recording
Oh, okay.
on
Yeah, we'll
YouTube.
keep
Just
that.
listen and then you can pause and go through that slowly.
Yeah, sure. Thanks.
Okay. So I think this is the last slide of the third maxim. Anybody wants to go through this?
Brother, can I read?
Yeah, go ahead, Manjula.
Maxim 3. The power of determination, firmness of will, and the correctness of the goal makes the journey successful. Clear intention promotes effort and sustains progress. The nobility of the ideal strengthens interest, which grows into a strong craving. This craving leads to impatience for attainment, drawing all tendencies of the mind towards the goal. Thus, through intense longing, the passage to the ultimate becomes certain, just as latent motion at creation carried forth existence.
Okay. Anybody
How
wants to?
each one is interconnected.
Anybody wants to share any thought on this particular slide? So he's actually giving you different aspects that we need to develop in order that we can be successful in our journey. Okay. Anybody wants to add anything? Shrikant, go ahead.
Here, again, he is emphasizing on the correctness of the goal because in our system, it's always towards infinity. And Master was once saying that the need of a living master is to keep reminding us that in whichever stage we are, since the goal is towards infinity, it is always as if we are beginning. So the firmness of the will and the correctness of the goal is something which I felt, it's very important.
Okay, good. Anybody else wants to add to what brother said? Nimi?
I think this is about, going in the reverse direction. Just as we came down from the latent motion, now we have to make our way back. And all the qualities that we need in order to go back, intense longing, craving, and impatience, strong will and craving. So unless we have all these qualities, we cannot make our way back. That's what they're talking about.
Good. Now look at this. Apply this to our materialistic goals. Do you not think that even for achieving a materialistic goal, we require all these things?
Yes, brother.
Yes.
See, the point is, many times we make this differentiation between materialistic life and the spiritual life. It's not hard and fast as we think about. All the qualities that we require to achieve a materialistic goal is also necessary for achieving a spiritual goal. There is no difference between the two. The only difference is that this is in a different realm, a subtler realm, compared to a materialistic goal, which is in a grosser realm. Second, for the materialistic realm, the direction of attention should be outwards. For a spiritual goal, the direction of attention should be inwards. That's all. These are the two fundamental difference. Otherwise, everything that we actually do to achieve a material goal can also be utilized for reaching a spiritual goal. So this is one point I want you people to remember. So the firmness of the will, the correctness of the goal is equally necessary for materialistic goal also. Having a clear intention also actually makes us put in more effort and help us to progress towards the goal. Now, when we have the thought that the goal that we have actually kept in mind is very noble, we develop a strong craving. Now, this can be for a PhD, this can be for a office promotion, this can be for an increment, this can be for marriage, this can be for anything. You require a strong craving for you to be successful. Now, when you have that ideal which strengthens your interest, then what happens? The strong craving develops, and that intent leads to impatience for attainment. When you have that impatience for attainment, what happens? Everything that we have got at our disposal, at the level of the mind, the body, and the senses, everything is now directed back towards the goal. And that is what needs to happen. You remember, Daji has spoken about this many times, where Babaji drew many channels on his hand and said that you just need to have one channel. The energy should be flowing always in one channel, and that is what will actually take you towards the goal. And that's something that we need to keep in mind, that if there is strong craving, we develop impatience for the attainment of the goal. And it is through this intense longing that the passage towards the ultimate becomes certain, so that we will reach that state of latent motion. How was the latent motion like at the time of creation? It also had intense longing to create creation. Now we are having the same thing, that we want to go beyond the creation, back to the latent motion. So we are essentially utilizing the same tool that the latent motion had for it to come to bring the creation into existence. We are utilizing the same energy back in our journey back towards the latent motion. This is what we are doing. Okay. So remember the two things. One is that material goal is in grosser realm, the spiritual goal is in the finer realm. Secondly, material goal is achieved when the attention is direct outwards, and the spiritual goal is achieved when the attention is directed inwards. These are the two fundamental difference. Otherwise, every aspect of creation that is given to us, the body, the mind, the senses, everything can actually be very much of utility in our journey towards the goal. Please remember this. Okay, Ananta?
I'm just trying to figure out like what comes first, what comes later. So initially, the first bullet talks about firmness of will, right? And later, the fourth bullet says this craving leads to impatience for attainment, then intense longing, right?
Correct.
So is that the firmness of will? Because I'm trying to get that, because I often think, I'm struggling with, that's one of the things I find myself struggling with, this firmness of will, right? So
I think you made a good point. The thing is, we just now in the earlier slide spoke about the paradox of the goal. In the goal, we start at the first point. We don't have any clarity about the goal. But Babaji writes that if you have clarity about the goal, you will be able to reach the goal faster. So we spoke about that paradox. How as we progress in our journey, the goal becomes more and more clear in our mind. Likewise, when we start the journey, I don't think any one of us will have very strong firmness of the will. Very unlikely. Both the first 2 points that Babuji has written about are things that we get during the course of our journey after sufficient practice, not before that. What we might have to start with is that we might have some intention, we might have the interest in the intention. When you add interest and intention and you have some kind of a goal in front of you, then you would start developing strong craving towards the goal, and then that gets converted into impatience. So these are all things that we actually start with. We start with some thought, then we have some interest. If you remember in our spiritual journey also, we actually start with some suggestion. We give a suggestion and sit. We don't even have a very clear idea about the goal. If they say that there is a source of divine light within my heart, and many times we have to work out what is this heart, what is this divine light, what is this source. And each of these things actually flash to us as we progress further in our practice. We have no clue at the start of our journey what is the source, what is the divine light, nor what is the heart. Although we use all the three terms. All that we are aware is that it is attracting our attention inwards. That is something that we can feel because we use the attention day in and day out. In fact, you need to remember that the most important food that we eat every day, every minute of the time that we live here is attention. Attention is the most important food. Now, in the context of attention, can somebody define what is transmission? In the context of attention, what is transmission?
It is the distilled attention of the Supreme by the Master.
It's the
Lalaji defines
we talk
attention.
about this as a food for the soul. Is that
Correct? It's food for the soul. But how do we get it?
It
The
is the
transmission of
strengthening.
divine energy for the transformation of
How do we
human.
get it?
It is a progressive strengthening of our intention to go inwards.
By meditating,
Brother,
brother.
it is uh, when the attention is towards inside towards the heart, the transmission occurs because of that attention.
I'm looking for one definition of transmission. I don't think any of you would have read it, but it's okay. You can try it out. No problem. I said define transmission in the context of attention.
Master is directing the attention of the divinity towards the seeker.
Okay. Anybody else wants to go?
It is
In Urdu,
distilled and given based on our awareness.
Okay. Anybody else?
Master's attention towards the basic.
Okay.
Master's attention towards the basic.
It's called tawajjuh, brother.
Okay.
Can I tell?
As I said, I don't think you people would have come across this definition. Please
Brother,
keep
can I
it.
tell?
Go ahead.
Hello. It is the attentional power of the soul which is connected to the master, which is connected to the source, brother.
Good. That's the definition I was looking for. What is transmission? Transmission is the attentional power of the soul. Which soul? The soul which is connected to the master. Why master? Master is connected to the source. All of us have attentional power on a day-to-day basis also. Even if you are not practicing spirituality, even if you are not doing meditation, you might be immersed in totally in the materialistic world, we still have attentional power. That is inborn, that we carry with us. For anything and everything that you have to learn in this world, you have to have attention, and then that gets converted into concentration. So the attentional power is already inborn with everyone. But here, when we say transmission, we are talking about the attentional power of the soul, which is connected to the master, who himself is connected to the source. That is what we are looking at. Okay? And it is that attention that actually we make utilization of in our journey towards the goal. When we say pranahuti, when I said pranahuti, the attention is our food that we actually utilize in our journey. I would want you to work out an answer to another question. Suppose somebody spends a lot of time with their preceptor and somebody doesn't spend. What will be the implication of that? In the context of attention, in the context of somebody attends satsang, somebody doesn't attend satsang, somebody does take sitting, somebody doesn't take sitting. In the context of attention and the transmission being attentional power of the soul, what exactly happens? How does the journey of these candidates unfold? This is something for you to ponder about. Because as and when you now start your journey towards training as preceptors, some of these final concepts you need to gradually get hold of and have clarity in your mind. So I've given you two different contexts. One abhyasi who irregularly attends satsangs, irregularly takes sittings, does not spend any time with the preceptor, not actually ask any question, none of those things. Other abhyasi, in contrast, actually asks questions, seeks clarifications, spends time with the preceptors, go with the preceptor to different places and actually contribute in volunteer work, take regular sitting and attend satsang. What will be the difference in terms of their spiritual evolution and how does that come about in the context of attention? Please keep that in mind and work out in your mind. Okay. Meena sister, you want to ask something?
No, I just wanted to tell about this one. When our attention is not towards the goal, we are not serious about our and we are not determined about our goal, brother. Then we'll not do our practice properly. Will not go to see. In spite of being in Sahaj Marg, we are not too serious about our goal, and that person will not take sittings properly. We'll take it for granted. Ignorance.
So one aspect is the aspect of the third maxim about the importance of goal.
Goal.
Correct.
Yeah.
Piyush?
I just remembered that in Urdu, this transmission is called tawajjuh, what we hear. And
Yeah.
tawajjuh also, I think, has a meaning of attention. If you
Tawajjuh is a word that is used by the Sufis.
Sufis. And
So
and
it just means
okay.
the attentional power. That's all.
In general, when we hear tawajjuh dena, so it is like pay attention.
Exactly. So, but it's just that it's not just attention, it is the attentional power of the soul connected to the master or the source.
Okay.
Okay. Kishore?
Yeah, brother. I have one question regarding that attention channel what you were explaining earlier, and basically going one step before to that regarding the interests. So what do I feel is like interest, jumps between many things, like from the office related stuff, or the outward physical duties related things, and at the same time when meditating and doing things, to the inward things also. So this fluctuations keep happening, maybe a blocker for the constant remembrance. So how can the interest be developed more? Like, this is the question.
Very simple. As and when you start getting experience or the taste of divinity, as and when you start getting an experience of sublime conditions in meditation, the interest will automatically sustain. That's where the initial part of the journey, in the first few weeks to few months, that's pretty critically important, because that is when you start actually getting a taste of the conditions that is embedded in the heart. When we are irregular in the first part of our journey itself, we don't get that real taste of the divinity. And then obviously, to the extent that we don't get the taste of the divinity, our interest also will be very waxing and waning. Sometimes it will be a bit more, sometimes it will be less. That we get good experience of and good taste of is what we actually fix our interest in. That is what happens. And that's why it is critical in the initial part of the journey that we are regular, so that our interest can actually develop because of the experiences that we pass through. Anyway, once you become preceptors, there are other parts that we can actually discuss about how to actually develop that interest. What exactly happens in the initial few weeks to few months after an Abhyasi joins the system? How do the masters actually try to develop that interest in the Abhyasi? All these things we can discuss once you actually have come back after having trained, becoming preceptors. Okay, let's keep it at that as of now. Ashwini?
Yeah, in one of the speech, master has told about the part-time workers, the full-time workers, and the people who give more than the full-time, like 8 hours in the IT. If we consider, if Abhyasi is just doing a part of it, somebody is just doing it, and somebody is totally involved. So obviously, the company will recognize the overtimers, right? So even same thing applies here, where we give our heart, mind, and soul to the work, to the mission, and all that. Our growth will obviously be elevated much faster compared to the part-timers.
Correct. But I was talking in the context of attention and attentional power. So just ponder about that. How does the journey unfold? Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, I think we are now coming to the end of the third maxim. Any final thought on the third maxim? Already coming up to 9:37. I just stop the sharing of the slide. Any final thought? So the third maxim is essentially about the importance of goal and how can we actually develop that interest in the goal, how we actually progress, develop that firmness, the determination. And Babaji has also given that example of the boat on the ocean of spirituality. Having a rudder or helm which is going to go in the direction of the reality of the goal. That is what essentially is the third maxim about. But this is the crux of it. Just remember this saying that if you fix the goal, you have already taken 50% of the journey towards the goal. So that's the very most important thing. Not to worry too much about the clarity about the goal at the start of the journey. Even if you have some vague idea that this is the goal, as and when we journey towards the goal, the clarity towards the goal will automatically come in. Everything that we do in our material world to reach the material goals will obviously be useful in the spiritual realm also. There is no difference between these two. It is just that the goal is the highest in spirituality. There is nothing wrong if you say that I want to keep the materialistic goal also as the highest. But then what you will realize is that the highest materialistic goal also will make you spiritual eventually. That's all that happens. Okay. Even if you take the highest level of physics, the highest level of physics is metaphysics. You cannot avoid, even if you take the most physical aspect of the subjects that we stay, as you go towards that higher realm, it becomes metaphysical. Okay. So whether you go in the direction of the materiality or spirituality, eventually you will reach the same place. However, the journey will be different in the context of the energy going out and formation of more samskaras versus the energy going in and decrease in the formation of the samskaras and then shedding of the samskaras as we progress. That is what will happen. Okay. R.N. Murthy?
Yes, brother. As we understand, fixing the goal with faith and Shraddha towards the center at the initial part of our Abhyas as a newcomer, I think that really matters. And if you have a buddy system, that helps. I think going forward, we can look into that aspect. And that is the one which clearly lays the foundation to go on our journey towards the center with gradual stages of experiencing impatience, restlessness, and earnestness. That is what I define as a fire in the belly. And I think this SNP3 is really fired that earnestness, restlessness, and impatience in all of us. And it's really a good sign that we are interacting and expressing our views. That is a feedback to the center. That's what I feel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ajitesh?
Yeah, I had a general question, not related to this part. So, I think even in the commentary over here, Daji talks about in Maxim 3 about expansion of the condition. And even I think when we were doing heartfulness, I think you talked about manifestation of the condition into the material world in between sittings and giving that feedback to your preceptor. How how do we actually manifest that condition into the material world? And also when we talk about expansion, I understand the concept of AEIOU, and having done it practically, I understand how it is done, what are the steps and how it is felt at the end. But like I have had cases when like okay, I was carrying the condition or I was feeling the condition, and just a simple thing as I washed my hands and I went to take the towel, but the towel wasn't there. I got irritated. I felt the intensity of the condition drop significantly. And now, even a very small act, like even a very small suggestion or irritation in my head did that. So I was thinking how to navigate through that because it seems insanely difficult to not get irritated or have those kind of thoughts. So I was just thinking how to actually manifest that in the material aspect.
One of the things that we need to understand in this particular context is that there are three realms of our existence. We are all aware of the physical realm. We are also aware very clearly about the mental realm. We have no doubts about these two. However, it is the spiritual realm that actually should become more clearly feelable and palpable for us. The importance of working with the conditions in terms of AEIOU is to clearly establish this spiritual level of existence to be able to feel that at all times. Okay. Now, do you say that when you are involved in the mind, when you are in a physical activity, your mind is not involved? Do you ever feel that? Most of the time, you carry both of them together in any activity that you do, right? You are aware of both. Likewise, when you develop this ability of feeling at the level of the spiritual level of existence, then you will carry all the three together in any activity that you do. There is no question of being non-spiritual at any point of time. Now the question comes, how do we actually develop this aspect of existence, the spiritual existence? That is the crux of your question. Now, whatever condition that you get at the end of meditation, the AEIOU that you practice, all these things add bit by bit to build your spiritual realm of existence. It is not necessary. Once I told you that even if you do AEIOU, you will lose the condition eventually, because it gets digested and distributed, and then it is there all over the body, all over the system. Even if you don't do AEIOU, then also you lose the condition. The only difference is if you do the AEIOU, you will assimilate the condition and then it kind of disappears from your conscious awareness. When you don't do the AEIOU, you lose that condition from the conscious awareness pretty fast. You not got any benefit out of it. But either way, remember, when we get the salary, right, we can just spend it in 1 hour and finish it with it, and then wait for the next 1 month. So again, we have lost the salary. Or by the end of the month, you have actually spent to all the things that is necessary by the end of the month, and even by the end of the month, you have finished all the salary. Whether you finish the salary in 1 hour or half an hour or one whole month, but at the end of the day, in either way, you have actually finished. But if you have actually misutilized the salary, you have not gained anything substantial out of it. At the same time, if you actually utilize the salary in the right way, you have gained something out of it. That's all that happens. Likewise, if we make utilization of the condition appropriately by doing the AEIOU, we are getting something out of it. Now, what is that something? That something is the spiritual aspect of your own existence that is getting formed. The more we actually ponder about this particular aspect, in fact, I'll tell you one thing, most of these inspirations come from the divine or the spiritual realm of existence when you know that you can actually tap into it at any point of time. That is what we actually need to tap towards, or we need to keep an eye on. This is in terms of condition and working with the condition. Are there anything else that we can do? Definitely. When you actually read some spiritual literature and you actually self-reflect and ponder on those things that you read, that also gradually now becomes more and more subtle. It'll help in the differentiation of the spiritual existence from the mental existence. As of now, the both appears to be simultaneously engrossed within one another. It's almost like the curd has the butter embedded in it. Now, when I say that the butter is embedded in the curd, you will say, oh, show me, where is it? Then I say, I cannot show you. But that doesn't mean to say that it is not there. Now, if you do the process of the churning, eventually you start seeing the butter formation from the same curd. Exactly the same thing is going to happen as and when we keep the mind and heart oriented towards spirituality, doing the regular practice and working with the conditions that we get, doing a lot of volunteer activity, spending time with the perceptor, clarifying different points. All these things help you to keep your mind aligned in the direction of reality towards spirituality. The more the mind is aligned in that particular direction, the attention is flowing in that particular direction towards the spirituality, eventually the heat of this now works on the mental existence. Eventually, the spiritual existence separates out from the mental existence. You can say the spiritual existence is an essence of the mental existence. Okay. Now, what exactly happens? Just take a physical example. Again, go back to the curd and butter example. Now, when you actually get the butter out, what exactly happened to the curds? Is the curd in the same format as being very thick as we started the churning, or now the curds now becomes very thin? What happens? The curd becomes very thin. That exactly is going to happen when the mind becomes very thin and free flowing. Compared to the curd where the butter has been removed, that becomes very free flowing, very fluid, right? Exactly the same thing is going to happen when the spiritual essence is now taken as a spiritual existence away from the mind. The mind becomes very thin and free flowing, liquidy in nature. It does not stick to anything. That is how you do not form any samskaras when the spiritual existence is taken out from the mind. That is what happens. Now, you will still have the mind, you will still have the body, but you don't stick to anything. When I say you don't stick to anything, you don't form any samskaras. It is the stickiness that forms the samskaras. The more the stickiness, the more the samskara formation. Somebody said something in the morning, and the whole day I'm thinking about it. I'm forming samskaras. Because I have got my mind stuck to that particular incident. When the stickiness is not there, the samskara formation substantially reduces. This is exactly what happens. But how do we do it? Now, look at the example of curd to butter. You are continuously churning. Now, the same thing. When you are churning with the view that you want to get the butter out of it. Right? You already have a goal in mind. You have not seen the butter, but you already have a goal in mind that if I go on churning the curd, I will get the butter. So you are looking for the butter. Likewise, if you churn the mind with spiritual things, it could be spiritual practice, it could be spiritual conditions, it could be spiritual discourse, it could be spiritual self-reflection, it could be spending time with a spiritual person, it could be anything. When you do activities which are in alignment with your spiritual journey, you are essentially churning the mind to get the essence of your spiritual existence separated from the mind. That is what happens. Okay. So it's not just about working with the condition, keeping an eye on the heart all the time. For example, if somebody were to ask you, now tell me, how is your condition compared to last week? What's the change that you have seen in your condition compared to 1 week? If you have to answer this question, you need to learn to ponder over the entire 1 week. Then only you can answer this question. Otherwise, you cannot answer. If you say, no, I forgot what I was like last week, I don't know what happened. So one of the critical things for a person to develop their spiritual level of existence is to constantly keep an eye on their condition, on their heart. When I say condition, here I am not talking about spiritual condition. To keep an eye on their heart, mind, and the body, and the way that they interact with the world. I've told you about 8 things, no? That you will undergo changes, the perspective. You will change in the way that you look at the body, the mind, the soul, God, nature, life, interpersonal interaction, guru, and love. These are the 9 aspects in which you will change. Every week, every month on month, you will keep changing in any of these aspects. But are we aware to be able to keep an eye on these changes that we are undergoing? That is what actually gives you the real taste of the change that is happening internally. Then one day, what you will experience is that this spiritual existence is now so clearly apart from my mental existence. This is the mind and its realm where it's functioning. This is the spiritual existence. You have no, what you say, confusion between these two. That is when we say that you have established in the state of constant remembrance. When the spiritual existence now becomes substantial, we are now say that you are now established in the realm of constant remembrance. It's at that time you get divine revelations. It's at that time you get inspirations. It's at that time that you get many ideas to actually implement. And also, you now become not only inspired yourself, you actually become inspirational for others. I call it as prabhava. Swabhava, Prabhava. Swabhava is spirituality becomes our essential nature of life. In other words, we start leading the life from the realm of spiritual existence, not at the realm of mind and body. You now become a spiritual being who has a mind and the body, not a person who has a mind and the body who is now trying to work out the spiritual existence. No, it's the locus of our standing shifts from the mind and the body towards the spirituality. So your life now is centered on spirituality. The mind and the body is just an instrument that is in cooperation for that particular life that you are leading. When this happens, it is at this stage you start becoming influenceable for others. You start influencing others. You start becoming an inspiration for others. And you do it without effort. You do it without awareness. You just are what you are. But other people who come in contact with you will start feeling inspired by you. That is what happens. Why is that they feel inspired? Because they unknowingly they feel something is there in you which is at the core which they have not got. And they feel attracted towards that. Oh, we also want that particular thing. That core, we also want it. So they start aligning towards that particular thing. So they get influenced by it. This happens when we develop the spiritual aspect of our existence. And our entire journey is to develop this. If we can develop this, then the journey is happening left, right, center. In fact, I'll give you one physical example, materialistic example. The flight, when we take a flight journey from one place to another place, we are the fastest in the mid-air. We are very slow when we take off, and then we are also slow. We take a lot of time to land also. So taking off and landing actually takes a lot of time. The actual journey itself is very small. It's very fastest in the middle of the journey. The same thing exactly happens. The journey through the Pinda Pradesh is the slowest. That's like taking off with the flight. As we go to higher points, the journey is very quick. As we start landing towards the central, the journey again slows down. That's how it is. Okay. So ponder about whatever we have discussed. Just doing AIOU, thinking that just doing half an hour meditation, 15 minutes cleaning, and 10 minutes prayer is sufficient for spiritual essence to be kind of taken out of the mind. Not going to happen. Even if we do this for the next 20, 30 years, it's not going to happen. The formation of the spiritual essence happens very quickly when we are engrossed in the direction of spirituality, irrespective of what we are doing, things in the world at the level of the mind and the body. And one of the examples I had given you at some point of time in the past was when we are actually going for a walk, we are talking. When we are driving, we are thinking. So we are always multitasking. At the physical level, we are doing one thing, and at the mental level, we are doing one thing. Why don't we actually think it possible that at the spiritual level also we can actually be doing something while the mind and the body is busy with something else? The moment you think that this is possible, then the formation of the spiritual essence within starts happening. The trouble is, majority of the people think, oh, how is it possible? I can only exist at the mental and the physical realm. I cannot exist at the third realm. Obviously, you can exist at the third realm because the third realm is the subtlety compared to, it's a subtler realm compared to the mind and the body. That's all it is. If we can exist at two realms simultaneously, why not think that it is possible for us to exist at three realms directly, simultaneously? Why is it not possible? It's perfectly logical and possible for anybody, provided first they make the sankalpa, yes, this is possible. The trouble is that we start with a weak sankalpa. Oh, how is it possible? Is it possible or not? This is the sankalpa that we start with. The moment we make this kind of a sankalpa, we are already weakening the manifestation. So have a firm thought in the mind. Yes, we can exist at all the three levels of existence correctly. And that is where Kishore was talking about the self-doubt. There are two poisons for spirituality. One is self-doubt, second one is anger. And that's a question for you in the exam.
Despondency.
Self-doubt and anger. Most common. And most of the people forget about anger. It's the self-doubt that is a problem. Okay. Okay, we'll stop here now today. We have not gone and touched the fourth maxim. We'll take the fourth maxim because I think it's quite possible that your thing might get extended by another 15 days. So we have more time at our disposal. So not to worry about it. I will take the next maxim on Friday as usual. We'll cover the fourth maxim. So we might take another 1 or 2 extra classes, but we should be able to easily cover it without any problem, because once we finish the 10 maxims, we're only left with only 2 books, The Efficacy of Raja Yoga and the Towards Infinity. Okay. Okay, Karthik.
Good evening, brother. I'm sure this thing. So what I wanted to say, what I wanted to ask still drills when you were telling no, brother, from the irreversible mental illness all the way up to the center. Sometimes what happens, uh, mm, you can feel that you are going through, say, stress or samskara or identification, concentration, attention. So you also feel that sudden joy in the heart, sudden love, affection, like like you are able to feel that, there is a shift in the spiritual, this thing and all. How to, like, brother, any tips on how to hold on to that 1 second of love or affection which you got from the hierarchy or the guru? How to hold on to that and, like, that is the thing I must want some clarification.
Okay, my suggestion is let us take this question. You come back with this question on Friday. We will ponder about this question.
Yeah,
okay.
Because sorry, brother, just because this is I realized suddenly, like, you have some attachment, some identification, and suddenly you move to awareness, and all these things are happening in that day, that span of that day itself.
As I said, we'll come back to this answer on Friday.
Okay, Anna. Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
So thank you very much for your time. So have a good night, and we will catch up again on Friday evening. Okay. Namaste.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.